Welcome back to the Journey to the FarLands. All right. Okay, let's see. I need some logs, maybe a little bit of wool, and everything else is good. In fact, I have entirely too much cobble and too much dirt. Yeah. Get rid of most of that. All right. Now, let's get out of here. Make sure we don't have any unpleasant neighbors about, as sometimes we do. But not this time. All right, now the distance, the direction is west, and it's that away. All right, so onwards to the FarLands. Journeying to the FarLands, Minecraft Beta 1.7.3, an epic beta version of Minecraft that I, for one, will never forget. I had a lot of fun with. Anyway, here we are. This is the 376th Minecraft day since leaving spawn. And we are journeying onwards. The world has grown to 4,528.92 megabytes in size. And this is the 123rd episode. How about that? And I suppose if I kept track of seasons, this would be the second season, because with the Livestream of F3ness a couple of months back, that officially rolled us into the second season. But I don't know. I'm not going to go so far as to make a separate playlist for a separate season. I'm just going to roll the whole thing into one ginormous playlist. Or one playlist that I hope will eventually be ginormous. And I'm doing my best to make it that way. But, anywho, whatevers. To move onward with assorted things and stuff. Let's see. Oh, that's right. Part of the whole thing with this is raising money for Child's Play charity. A worthy organization that works to get books, toys, and games into the hands of kids in hospitals all over the place. You know, it kind of takes some of the OMG, I'm scared sting out of things. Because hospitals, let's face it, from a kid's point of view, a hospital is a scary place. And I just used up a diamond shovel. How about that? And, you know, it serves to take their mind off of procedures and medical conditions that are either really, really depressing or really, really scary. Because, you know, that kind of thing can be scary for a grown adult. Just think what it can be like for a kid that doesn't necessarily always understand everything of what's going on. This is not to say that they never understand what's going on. Don't ever think that about kids, because they will surprise you with what they understand about what's going on. Yeah, just when you count on them to not know what you're talking about, they will know exactly what you're talking about. And you will never hear the end of it. Absolutely. That's the way that works. In any event, the efforts to raise funds, the goal was $6,346.45, of which, let's see, $62.62 raised using the old chip-in widget way back in the day when that still existed. And then when that went away, switched over to using a widget that Child's Play Charity came up with on their website, which strikes me as being so much better of an idea. And on that widget, there's been $541.50 raised. The two together is $609.12, which is 9.6% of the goal. Awesome. And doing a little bit of a quick little bit of back of the envelope style math. I find that 1,147 more $5 donations will reach the goal. And that will be cool, because that means we can start. That would mean, you know what that would mean? Aside from having raised a lot of money for a worthy cause, that would mean we get to start talking about the Livestream of F3ness too. Yeah, that would be fun. I would enjoy doing that. But, you know, it happens when it happens. We're not going to rush that or make any kind of rush push goals or crazy things like that to try to speed things up. You know, it happens when it happens. And every single donation, no matter how large or small, is always appreciated and goes directly to Child's Play. It does not stop go. It doesn't pass go. It doesn't collect $200. And it is not mutilated, folded, stapled, or whatever else along the way. It just goes right straight to them. In any event, one of the staple features, if you will, of this journey is the fact that from time to time, you folks who view and or donate ask questions. And those questions are a very wonderful, fantastic thing, because they help give me that which to speak about during an episode, which is really, really handy sometimes, because there are times when I sit here and I press record and I'm asking myself, why am I pressing record? I don't know what in the flaturation I'm going to talk about. That's right, flaturation. That's a word, officially, as of right now. What does it mean? I don't know. Look it up. That's terrible. I know. Anywho, I will also say, mention in passing a thing that's becoming a standard summertime disclaimer. It is hot. The temperature is in the upper 90s, as in almost 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Which, for those of you who speak C, I believe that is in the neighborhood of 50 C or more. I can't swear to it because I can't be bothered to go look it up right now to find out what that is, but I know it's a lot either way. And so because of that, my air conditioner is running, and I will not turn it off for anything. No, absolutely not. Because that air conditioner is what keeps me from feeling like the end of the world happened a week ago. Okay, let us boat onwards. And I picked that up again, didn't I? Get overboard, you. There. All right. So anyway, as I was talking about questions, Ghost of the Mind, in a YouTube comment, asked, with the many a year under your belt, what was the spark that got you into playing the old games of videos? You probably have answered this one. Well, maybe not that exact one, but certainly the cause of me getting to doing video games and the starting of me doing games and whatnot, as that in general has come up a time or three, I'm sure. I can't think of an example right now, but what did I say? I've slept since then. Well, do you know what the main thing is that has sparked me into playing the old games of video? One word. Opportunity. I have always enjoyed playing video games. Well, maybe not 100% always, but I enjoy playing video games. And I have played video games actually a lot longer than I have done YouTube. Amazingly enough. I'll give you a clue. The first video game I played was, and I know there are some people that may not believe this at first, but bear with me. The first video game I played was in 1977. The name of the title of that game was Pong. And no, my family did not own a Pong. That was only for rich people back then. The game was owned by, I believe it was the landlord at the time. And I was doing some babysitting. And one of the things there was that it was okay to use the Pong machine, which basically you turned on the TV, set it to channel 3, and then you turned on the Pong device, and it came through the TV on channel 3, and then you could sit there and play this. It was kind of a mock table tennis thing, you know. You got this little white pixel thing that was about the size of a quarter. Well, no, it wasn't, but pixels were big back then. Now, we'll say that much. It was a large, blocky square pixel. It went back and forth on the screen, and you had some somewhat larger blocky square pixels that were referred to as paddles, that by twisting a knob, you could make them go up and down with the idea of intercepting the one that went back and forth, which would cause it to bounce, sometimes at crazy angles and whatnot, and you could play a form of tennis with it, and that's what the game was called, or something like that. Or at least in later versions, it was just Pong. And, yeah. And I became quite the master of setting the thing up in an infinite loop, moving the paddles in just such a way that the thing could start bouncing back and forth, and as long as nobody touched either paddle, it would continue doing that forever, because they were lined up in such a way as to not cause the thing to bounce off at an angle. It would just bounce straight between the two of them. So that was my first video game. After that, and I'll grant you, Pong was not exactly riveting. It really wasn't. But it was cool in that it was the first of its kind. You know, it showcased an upcoming technology, shall we say. The main reason I played it at the time was primarily because I was bored to tears. You know, it was later in the evening, the kids being babysitted had gone to bed, and there was nothing to do. You know, and a bored 16-year-old will do almost anything to not be bored. And so there you go. Anyway, the next video game I encountered was one that I saw set up in a mall in, I believe it was late 1978. I can't swear to that, though. I think it was late 1978. And this was the first coin-operated video game I had ever seen. One had to insert 50 cents to make this thing work. And this was a very, very, very early, from the point of, and thinking about it now, it almost had to be a prototype version of a little thing called Asteroids, where you had the little pixely line shaped spacecraft in the middle of the screen that you could turn left or right and whatnot, and then the fire button, which would cause it to shoot little dots out. And the idea, of course, was to blow up the asteroids so that they don't destroy your ship, and so on. And this thing, it didn't look at all like Asteroids Machines did later on. That's why I'm thinking it had to have been a prototype or something like that, because the screen looked almost rounded, and it looked, I don't know, it kind of had almost a homemade look to it. I can't swear that that's exactly what it was, but it had that kind of look. And it was like, wow, that's amazing. And yeah. So, and that was the second video game. And then a couple of years later, 2 or 3 years or whatever it was later, more video games began to start showing up, and they start looking a whole lot more polished and a whole lot more the way we remember them from like video game arcades and stuff like that, where you got the big stand-up machines, you got other machines. Some of the driving games had a big fancy sit-down version with the seat and the pedals and the steering wheel and all that, and yeah. And well, let's see. The next big one that I remember is when Pac-Man hit the scene. Pac-Man took off like crazy. It quickly became the thing that no matter where you went, you found a Pac-Man machine. They showed up every freaking where. And about 4 or 5 years later, they came up with Ms. Pac-Man. And those things started showing up everywhere. Oh, I need to make more boats. While I'm at it, how about a shovel? All right. Okay, you get out there and wait. Give me a shovel. Make it diamond while we can. And that just guaranteed that the last diamond will be used for the next shovel, because that's just one diamond, and that means my next pickaxe will be iron. That's fine, I've got a lot of iron on me. It's about time I started using it. Anywho, oops, muting for a moment. Okay, that's better. I just felt that coming on, and I figured, you know, let's just avoid having the nasty, unpleasant sounds appear in the video. I mean, yes, I can edit them out, but it's so much better when I don't have to. Yeah. So, and then various and sundry video games along the way over the years, and then video games started becoming a thing on home computers, which were also becoming a huge thing at the same time. You know, how about that? I remember a time when nobody had a home computer of any description. How about that? A time when the only people that had computers were governments, big corporations, and large universities. And not all of them. But anyhow, computers became a big thing, video games became a big thing, and in a way, home computers and video games kind of fed off of each other, I think. The computers made the video games possible, and the video games, I think, helped encourage the sale of a lot of computers, because I think there were a lot of computers purchased and or sold or whatever that would not have been had it not been for the people spending the money wanting to play games. Yeah. And games are important. Let's see. Okay, yeah. Getting towards the end of the second day here. And believe it or not, games actually are important. They are an important part of your psychology and not going completely, totally bonkers. You know, I mean, you've heard the saying, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Well, all work and no play can also make Jack a psychotic, a complete psychotic. I mean, seriously, have you ever really wondered what was the Joker's big problem? All work and no play. And then he snapped, and he turned into Jack Nicholson, and he decided to play. You know, and granted, he went a little extreme overboard, but, you know, that's the idea. The mind needs something like that. And frankly, honestly, the more, shall we say, active the mind, the greater the need for something as simple as just playing a game of some kind, any kind. You know, whether it's a computer game or a virtual reality thing of some kind, or a board game, or just a couple of kids, or a bunch of kids running around playing hide and seek or something like that. The mind needs that kind of escape from pressure. And that's important. And besides that, no matter what we say about games, we enjoy games. We don't necessarily all enjoy the same games, but then again, that's because we're all different people. Whoa. Let's not fall in the cave. And so, the games are important. Now, for a big, long chunk of years, I didn't actually do very much with games. Once in a while, I would be in a point where I could afford to drop a quarter in a video game of some kind or another, and just kind of lose myself in that for however long I could keep the thing from killing me. You know, you lose that last life, and it chops up and says game over. You know, but keep the game going for as long as I could, and have a little bit of relaxing just for that few minutes. There was whatever issues were bothering me and the problems that I had, which at various points were plenty. And no, I'm not going into those because this is about fun. And so on. I got a nice, valuable bit of escape. Just for that few minutes, all the BS and crap in the world didn't exist. And I was just having fun blasting away at whatever it was that particular game had you blasting away at. And, yeah, that was worth a heck of a lot. And it was worth every single quarter I dropped into those things. Every single one of them, and then some. You know, these folks really, really earned their money. You know, a lot of people don't think so, but I think they did. The games, despite the fact that some people do get into them too much and they go overboard, and that, you know, those are extreme cases. In the case of the average individual, this is not what happens. The average individual plays a game for a little while, maybe a few hours in one day even, maybe 7 or 8 hours in one day. And then they go back to real life, and they go to their job or their school or whatever, and they do their thing. And part of what keeps them sane through all of that is anticipating the next time they're going to sit down and play their favorite game. Because while reading your favorite book or watching your favorite TV show or movie is all well and good, and it does in some ways count as a form of play and relaxation and escapism from BS, it also isn't quite the same, because the game is a much more interactive thing. You know, with the TV show, it's so-and-so doing such and such. With the game, it's you doing it. It's you fighting against those zombies, or racing in that race and trying to get to the finish line before everybody else. Or it's you flying that F-16 against whatever evil forces that you were sent against, or, you know, or whatever, you know? It's you flying that TIE fighter against Darth Vader and company, you know? And there's a certain satisfaction, a certain actual gratification that you get out of, well, that wasn't as good as it should have been. It would have been better if you could have hit one end of it and made the whole thing come down all the way across, but what are you going to do? Okay, you're going to get into a boat, that's what. And I'm going to have to make it a point to look for wool and cut down trees next time out, because I have done neither this time. I'm not running excessively short, but I really should have paid some attention to that. But I got so into talking about this. Yeah, the games are a huge supporter of sanity. In spite of what a lot of people think of certain games, you know, there's always some group or another, for example, that will start almost a campaign against this or that game, saying this is evil and it teaches people evil things and so on, yada yada yada. Bunk. Pure, absolute bunk. This is assuming that, you know, something like that could only be considered true if all of the people playing the game were somehow incapable of telling the difference between a game and reality. I'm quite sure that driving games, for example, do not teach people to drive fast and crazily, or drive on the sidewalk, or drive through ballparks or football stadiums or crowds of people at the mall. And there are games that will let you do all of that sort of thing. And I'm quite sure that the vast majority, and by vast majority I mean something like 99.99999% of the people who play such games and do such things in-game would never even consider doing such things in real life. But the fact that you can do it in a game, it's an outlet. Blowing off steam. That's what they used to call it, blowing off steam. You know? And blowing off steam is a good thing. Because what happens if you don't blow off steam? The pressure builds up and you explode. When a steam container doesn't vent the excess pressure, that pressure builds up and builds up until finally something bursts. And with human beings, when something bursts, it usually results in a tragic news story about some tragic event in which somebody just reached a point where they had too much and they couldn't take it anymore, and they just kind of popped. And next thing you know, they're on top of they're on top of a building with a high-powered rifle, and it's up to law enforcement to stop them with their own high-powered rifles. You know, tragic. So imagine if more people took the time, and not exactly excessive amounts of time and or resources or whatnot, you know, take an hour or so in a day and just play a game and relax and let your troubles fade away. Stop thinking about the things that are driving you completely nutso, and instead of shooting your boss or blowing away your next door neighbor or dynamiting the person down the street or whatever, you know, instead of doing that, do the equivalent in a non-humanly fatal way and blow away something in a game. It still gives you the satisfaction of having destroyed the bad guys that are out to give you all kinds of trouble and difficulty, but it doesn't hurt anybody. So, yeah. And now the bowl. Sorry, I can't seem to do that and talk at the same time. I don't know why, but it's a curse or something. Anyway, yeah, the games are games of any kind. Whatever kind works for you is a very good thing. And I need to get some charcoal sometime real soon, or coal or whatever. I'm out of torches. Terrible. All right. Anyway, I've been kind of blabbering on. I'm not even sure if I answered the original question. What prompted... Oh, wait a minute. I did. What prompted me... What was the spark that got me into playing games and videos? Simple. The one-word thing that I said early on. Opportunity. Absolutely. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. I am out of here.